Just think, can start. It was good to get a bonus point win. Obviously, I think having the roof on the stadium, made it a wee bit difficult to kind of play the expansive game plan we wanted to play, and you could see that. You look at even like the Scotland Samoa game last week. I think there was 35 handling errors, and that was similar to us, just with the humidity. Like, it does make it quite tough. But listen, 5 tries, didn't concede a point, and job done in terms of moving on forward to next week.
Yeah, look, just to reiterate what he said, it's job's done. We got what we wanted out of the game, and look, it's probably hard to explain. It must have been really, really tough out there, and we obviously didn't experience it ourselves having to watch from the sidelines, but it looked like it was really, really tricky, and that ball just looks like a bar of soap at times. But we've got a lot of positives we can take out of it. Not conceding a try, and to only concede 1 try in the tournament so far, we can take a bit of confidence out of our D and stuff like that. But there's obviously a lot of things we can build on, a lot of things we can improve on, and that's positive as well, I suppose.
Physically, coping with playing in the conditions out here and the humidity?
It's something you have to get used to, like Chris was saying, like, we didn't really experience that last night, but even just in the warm up, like, I think that's definitely the most humid we've experienced it here. I think everybody's finding it quite difficult, so it kind of creates a level playing field, and it's just something you get used to as the tournament goes on.
Did you make a performance with Johnny Sexton?
I thought he was.
You can have that one. I'm not talking about John.
I thought he was good.
Yeah.
I thought he played really well in the 40 minutes that he played, and he's a great leader. Like, he really is someone who leads from the front, and from my experience of playing with him, he's just someone I get so excited to be playing with. He gives you that little bit of space and time, and he's so consistent with what he does that you know what you're getting every single time. He's a real leader, and I think he showed that last night as well.
There's a lot of people on TV see his performance, but if you're actually in the stadium, you can see all the direction and the organisational stuff he does. Can you just explain to us a bit, like, what he does, or how it's so different from pretty much most halves in the world?
Yeah, look, even just during the week, all the little micro chats that he'd be having with not just the same players over and over again. It's he goes and seeks the players that he needs to, and he gets what he wants out of them, and he's got so much experience and so much knowledge of the game that you've got to take on board everything he says, because when he says something, you tend to look at it or reflect on what he said, or look at a bit of video and see what he's talking about, and you're like, yeah, he's dead right there. So more often than not, he's really accurate with what he says to you, and he can make you a better player from just talking to him.
Does he coach, or not so much coach, or just lead, like, while the game is literally happening, while there's like the phases are going through the phases? Is that kind of almost his strongest point, that he's like altering things and changing things, like, in motion? Can you tell us a bit about how that, your experience of that?
Yeah, he's just, I suppose it's like, it comes from his experience. He sees things unfold, and he's seen things happen before, and we talk about doing, getting into the mind gym and seeing things happen before they happen, or being able to see things as early as possible as they unfold, because we've seen them in our head before, we've seen the pictures before, whether that be in real life or just in the mind gym. But for him, he's played so much rugby at the highest standard than international level. He'd have seen a lot of things happen, and he's able to see things earlier than most. So yeah, he's just great to play with.
Rory mentioned you're not necessarily where you want to be, in that you would have expected to win 3 games, or certainly that was the aim going into what would be your final pool game against Samoa. In the sense of the mood within the companies for both of you lads, how would you describe that?
I think the mood has largely been pretty positive. Like, obviously, like, it was a disappointing result against Japan, and the days leading after that, like, were tough. But you have to accept the reality, of where you are, and all we can do now is do our job to try and make sure that we secure, like, qualification out of the pool, and whatever happens in other games outside of that, that's not something we can control. But yeah, I think, like, the mood's been largely very good, and guys, especially after the Japan performance, wanted to right a few wrongs and train really hard, and yeah, that's definitely evident in the way they got, like, they did train. So yeah, I think it's been largely positive.
Yeah, look, despite obviously losing Japan, and as Jacob said, those days were tough after. You know, they always are. No matter who it is, you lose to. It's tough to be in camp and not get a break from that, because you know you're around the same lads that you played with, and you don't get to go home with your family, or you don't get to go meet your friends and talk about something completely different. So most people are dwelling on that for a couple of days, and it does take a little bit of time. But you know, I think for the large part of how long we've been here, it's been really good. You know, we've bonded well as a team. We've all got out into the cities and around the place and did things, you know, that we find enjoyable, and just, you know, enjoy each other's company. So, you know, the mood in camp's very good. You know, it's very positive, and you know, as Jacobs has already touched on, we just need to look after our own ship now. We need to get what we need to get out of this Samoa game, and first and foremost focus on the win there, and after that, you know, everything else will take care of itself. So
the weekend off, will that help?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, looking forward to it now. So a bit of travel today, but Saturday, Sunday off, and you know, we'll probably enjoy each other's company for a while and get back into it Monday morning. And I suppose next week will be nice because we'll have a full game prep. You know, it'll feel more like a Six Nations or November Series test match where we've got a full week leading into it. You know, we've got the weekend off now. We'll do a lot of preparation throughout the weekend, no doubt about that as well. But Monday, Tuesday, we'll get stuck into the nitty gritty bit of work, and it'll feel like, you know, a proper build up to a test match.
And again, for both of you, what have you made of Japan so far?
I've really enjoyed it. It's obviously a really, really different culture to anything that we experience, you know, where we normally travel. But you know, it's great that we get this opportunity to play such a massive tournament in a place with such a different culture. And the Japanese are, you know, they're unbelievably welcoming. I was chatting, my parents have been here for the last 3 weeks, and my father'd be old school enough, like he wouldn't be using the Google Maps on his phone or anything. He probably doesn't have an iPhone, to be sure, but he says anytime he gets a map out, like, and he's in the train station looking at a map, there's always someone comes over and is like, just make sure he's going the right direction. So from what I've gathered, all of the experiences that my family have done is that, you know, they're really welcoming.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be out here kind of 2 years ago with the tour, and I think, to be honest, I'd say the first couple of days out here last time I didn't really enjoy it that much, just because it's such a culture shock and it's so different. But by the time I was leaving, like, I loved it, and I couldn't wait to get back. And yeah, it's, you know, it's been brilliant so far. And to be honest, it's been a lot more enjoyable this time, being able to kind of travel around and see different cities and you know, kind of experience different cultures, you know, like different parts of Japan, which, yeah, it's just been really fun. And like Chris said, like, everybody has been so unbelievably welcoming, and you know, they'll do anything for you to try and help you out, which is class. Like, so yeah, it's been a thoroughly enjoyable trip for me so far anyway.
When you talk about those few days after Japan, I mean, how different an experience was that for you? Because obviously you came into the test game and it was fairy tale stuff for about 18 months. Just how different and how difficult is it?
Yeah, like, I mean, I've experienced a few losses in an Ireland shirt now, and they don't get any easier, so they don't. Yeah, it was just incredibly disappointing, like, for me, because, you know, I suppose you don't really expect to be kind of feeling that way after your second Rugby World Cup game, you know, or well, I wasn't expecting to be anyway. And like the next day you feel sorry for yourself and you like your wins, and after that, like, you have to start training again. So there's, you know, you can't be lying about and moping. You just get on with it, and like, it's this very similar to any other game in that sense. But yeah, it was a tough couple of days, but you know, I always find that it's easier once training starts again, because it gives you something to focus on and motivate yourself, and you can just put kind of the rest of it behind you.
Just for both of you lads, Rory was in here a few minutes ago, and he said obviously had the benefit of a 15-year international career. He's been through some difficult World Cup campaigns. Have you, as newcomers to the World Cup, been able to draw any benefit from the experience of the more senior players in terms of dealing with setbacks?
I'd say definitely, yeah. You know, I was chatting to Earlsy like yesterday, and like before the game, and he was saying, like, you know, how, like, in the 2015 World Cup, how much pressure they felt they were under, and you know, like, this time around, he's just saying, like, I'm just not letting the pressure get to me. Like, I'm just going out to enjoy the rugby, and that's kind of what I took from that. You know, where like you can get really wound up about, you know, not having the perfect performances and not, you know, playing the perfect game every week, and that pressure can build up to a point where it takes control of you, or else you can just go out and enjoy your rugby and, you know, be confident in your ability and play, you know, play to the game plan that the coaches and the, you know, the leadership group have created, and 9 times out of 10 that's a much better way to do it than the other way around.
Guys, that Japan game, they were saying how they prepared for that game for 3 years. I think they were talking in terms of an analysis sense as much as anything else, but would it be a bit of a simplistic view to take to suggest that they've shown other teams how to stop your game?
I don't know if it's necessarily as easy as that. You know, there's obviously a lot more factors there, like, you know, like a home World Cup, you know, in front of a really passionate crowd. Like, I thought the sport of the game in general was class, but I thought particularly their sport was, you know, really, really incredible, and it was quite impressive. But, you know, there's a lot more to be. There's a lot more than just doing your analysis to beat a team, and yeah, they played. I thought they played very, very well, and we didn't really match that level. But like, that's the kind of nature of rugby. I don't think it's as simple as if you do your analysis, you'll beat somebody. You know. And
obviously, Joe's been quite relaxed with us, really, but I assume he hasn't sort of been any different with you guys, has he? You know, he'll obviously push you guys to the limit once you get back into training for the Samoa game and beyond, hopefully.
Yeah, like, you know, Joe, whenever we're training, like Joe likes to push the intensity and really build it, which is obviously class for us as players, because, you know, you're getting that intensity in training that's, you know, nearly like match week. Like, you've got that pressure on you from Joe. It's amazing how much pressure one man can put on an entire team, so it is. But you know, like, it's brilliant that he does that, and whenever you're off, like, you know, he's a bit more relaxed and you're able to kind of chill out a wee bit, which is, you know, I think he gets a really good balance in that sense in his coaching style.
A lot of the guys last night afterwards just saying they were very thankful for the opportunity to play against so quickly. Were you a bit envious of the guys that did go out there?
Yeah, I think when, you know, after the Japan game, we just said, you know, in the change room, look, we're lucky that we have, you know, 5-day turnaround and get back out and put things right a little bit, because there obviously is going to be a little bit of, you know, uneasy energy around the team room for a day or two after the Japan game, because of, you know, boys are just, you know, a little bit down from it. But yeah, I would have loved to be out there, even you know, in the warm up we were around kicking the balls back to the kickers, and I was just looking around and seeing there were so many Irish fans in that stadium. You know, there probably wasn't an awful lot of Russian travelling support, but there were so many Irish around, and I'm sure Samoa will be no different. You know, I'm sure there'll be a hell of a lot of Irish there as well, because I think there's a lot more starting to make their way out now. But, you know, it would have been incredible to be able to play in that.
Okay, folks.